Hi, everybody. Okay, so this is the recording with Greg Rickford. Um, I'm not going to sit here through the entire thing. It's like an hour long. It was a fairly in-depth meeting. Unfortunately, he chose not to do anything to help me. Um, he gave me some advice or some suggestions, and I followed through with them. Unfortunately, his suggestions didn't pan out, and um, I went back to the Ontario government and did exactly what he asked me to do, and they pretty much didn't care. So um, I went back to I tried to make another appointment, and his secretary slash assistant, whatever she is, um, tried to stonewall me and stop me from making the appointment. I started getting very vocal about it, and finally I got an appointment, and he pretty much said he wasn't going to bother with me. So that was pretty well it. But this is the first conversation with him. I have the second one as well.
Meeting with Greg Rickford, Monday, March 27th.
March 23rd. Should be March 23rd, I believe. The first few minutes is kind of just background noise with me going into the building. So I do apologize for that, but it is what it is.
Hi, I have a meeting with Greg Rickford. Okay, and what's the name? Susan? Susan, okay, it's at 11:30. Yes, I'm a little bit early, I know. Just have a seat. Wonderful, thank you. Thanks. What's that? A little bit of a wet day outside. We need the weather. We need the wet for sure. Yeah. There's some grass. Like it's too much power. A pretty big set of shoes to fill. You think the lake's slow? What's that? I've only been here for a few years, but you think the lake's slow? Yep. Help yourself. There's all kinds of toys. put them in, but I found those doors at a store, but oh my God, those are exactly what we need. So got to make them way quicker to install them.
So this guy that I'm talking to is in the waiting room.
You're part of the staff then? Yeah, I work for Mr. That was just a side project. That's not what I do for Mr. Well, I think those are more modern now, right? As opposed to like the regular door. It kind of gives it a more urban look. Yeah.
We're talking about the barn-style doors in his office that were recently installed, apparently.
It depends on, like,
Wonder how much that costs taxpayers.
So, but you do need clear wall space on either side. No plug-ins that you're locked, so there's no perfect solution for pretty much anything. So what do you do for? I'm a photographer. Okay. Yeah, just got a part-time gig, which is perfect. I work just for this, right? Just the sun, huh? It's really nice. These are great coffee mugs. Help yourselves. So nice they don't have to walk out. Yeah. It's for it. So painted up there, Paul? Oh, yeah. We need it. Get rid of the ice. Yeah, this will start to beat it up. Yeah, the wheel. It's not too bad, but it's definitely a drizzle up, but it's not like. We just need a drizzle so that it soaks in a bit, gets the ground, because it could be bad fire season if we don't get some moisture in the ground, that's for sure. Yeah, kind of thought that. It was really bad last year. Last year I was in Toronto and I was grateful I wasn't taken off. Oh, it was, yeah, the start of the summer was not good. I've got mild asthma and allergies to smoke cigarette. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I was so grateful I was on around block. Yeah. I know my first year in Kenora was a really bad fire season. And I could barely breathe. Oh, yeah, there's been times you can barely see the sun. Yeah. It's just an orange ball. Yeah. And even inside, like, I had to take my allergy meds inside too because it just comes through. Yeah.
What's going on? Down by Prince Drive by Seven Gens, what they're building there, like by the turn off, like as you go out towards the highway, there's that big open field.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what they're building there?
Pardon me?
Do you have any idea what they're building there?
I think some housing for students that come in to study at Seven Gens from out of town.
Okay.
So I think kind of apartments, kind of a deal. I'm not sure.
Hi, Susan? Hi. Come on in. Go right ahead.
Okay. Sorry, but I was gonna say.
Any of these empty chairs is fine, Susan. Come on in. It's rainy up here today, eh?
Yeah, it's kind of gloomy, but it's okay.
Rain cleans things up after snow.
Exactly.
Okay.
Tom's just in the washroom, so.
Coffee, tea, or anything, or
Coffee would be great.
coffee would be great. I only have coffee mate. Do you take cream or sugar?
Lots of cream.
Lots of cream. Okay, so we only have coffee mate. Hope that's okay.
That's perfect.
That's perfect.
Any one of these cups, Linda?
Yeah, those are all good.
Yeah, sorry, what did you take in it, Susan?
Just lots of cream.
Coffee mate?
Coffee mate, yeah. That's perfect. Like a tablespoon of coffee mate.
Pardon?
Like a tablespoon of coffee mate or whatever. Thank you.
And we're taking a break.
Okay, Susan. I'm Greg.
Nice to finally meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I think. I'm just reading the thing here. Got a couple different things going on.
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, Susan, let's just happy to see you. Let's just put some parameters on this. These are meetings that are confidential and without prejudice. Okay. So the discussions on here don't form any basis for legal action. And secondly, they're confidential. So while you have the discretion to go out and make these the contents of this meeting public,
Thank you.
for example, to me, I don't want to plant the seed. Then obviously that breaches that confidentiality. And I know as a professional social worker, there could be somebody who's more sensitive to confidential work. All right? So this kind of consider this as the same piece. The second thing, Susan, just and then we can get right into seeing if we can help you on a couple of things. You received a document in error. Okay? Now, typically there's a disclaimer that comes with those. That if you're in receipt of that in an error and it's disseminated for anything, then obviously there's some kind of recourse. But because just because the disclaimer wasn't in the email I still afford as a member of Parliament those protections. Okay? So I'm going to make a clarification because you did communicate to my team that you saw that you were prepared to disseminate this publicly. And there are a number, in particular this column here that said turn down previous meetings. Okay? So for the record, I will tell you that these are turned down by the constituent.
Okay.
We have a proud history of serving our constituents in 3 offices in an area that spans more than 65,000 square kilometers. Now, I know that you live here now, that you probably have spent some time clearly in Winnipeg, but we have a big riding. We have 3 offices, and with a busy schedule and a young family, it's a matter of pride for me to see people as often as we possibly can. So that's what that list reflects. I've made those comments to you. It's one professional to the other, because I'm also a lawyer, so I'm going to be very set up the guardrails. I've explained to you what that list is. I've asked you not to disseminate it because the information that's in there is similarly protected by confidentiality as between me and those people, because some of these people on here we've seen. So the public dissemination of them would not be a breach by me, but a breach by you if you were to. So all I can do is ask you to destroy that document or to delete it. It was sent to you in error, and hopefully it doesn't surface anywhere, because some of those people have spoken to me, and we don't put all the details in this spreadsheet about what exactly they spoke about, but in a couple instances it could be more sensitive. Okay. With those things said, I think if I recall correctly, you had a couple of different matters. One was with respect to a matter in the Manitoba College of Social Workers, and the second one may or may not have been a health-related piece. And if that's the case, I'm all ears.
Not really a health-related piece. There's actually 5 things I want to talk to you about.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so since you brought the Manitoba College of Social Workers, I need to speak with you on that. Okay, now, back when I first reached out to you, it was just a complaint to the Manitoba College of Social Workers. It hadn't gone through. They hadn't made a decision. They've now made a decision. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm no longer an acting social worker. Okay?
Can I just ask, because I'm curious about this, Susan, is there a college of social workers in Ontario?
There is, and that's one of the things I want to talk to you about. Okay, so the Manitoba College of Social Workers somebody put in a complaint against me I'm sorry, I'm saying this horribly. I should explain this right from the get-go. So my daughter was in hospital. She was in a coma. Okay? It was a very, very stressful time. I was trying to get information from a nurse on her medical situation, and there was a bunch of family things involved, and I think this nurse took prejudice against me. And I said to her, I'm not a threat. Like I'm a social worker. You can check me out at the college. I shouldn't have said that. And I said,
you wrote her an invitation to complain. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But so I walked out.
Was she in a hospital in Manitoba, Susan?
She was.
Okay.
So I walked out of there and totally distraught and trying to figure out what's going on with my daughter, and it was horrible. And I had gone to family relations in the hospital, which is a department that's supposed to work with the families.
For sure.
And I was hitting roadblocks there, so I put in a complaint with the college against the social worker there. But while I was doing that, this nurse put in a complaint with me with the college. And I think part of that was a retaliation, because I put in a complaint against a couple nurses there for not giving me information on my daughter to the College of Nurses. So it was a retaliation complaint. But the college got hold of this, and they started this witch hunt, literally. And I was found not guilty, but they made a decision that I embarrassed the college. So therefore, I was fined $30,000. I've got the order. And
that you embarrassed the college by making representations to a nurse that you were a member of the...
Yes. So I got fined $30,000. I can't practice as a social worker without guidance for a year, and they wanted me to take some sort of training, and at a cost to me, of course, right? Now, so I stepped back and I said, well, if that's the case, I'm not going to act as a social worker anymore because A, I can't afford that. B, I'm just utilizing my Canadian rights to freedom of speech. And C, I'm advocating for my family.
Yeah.
This isn't even work related. So
is your daughter okay, by the way?
Yeah. She came out of the coma. She had to take physio for quite a while, and she's doing better. It wasn't without side effects, so she's lost a lot of long-term memory, and like there's things that we were talking about that she should have wanted and she didn't, and
I'm really sorry to hear that, Susan. So, and I can relate in a certain way, Lorna. I think you probably, I told you the story. I didn't make any representations, but somebody made a representation on my behalf that I was a nurse. They complained here in the riding, the district, that I was holding myself out to be a nurse. And so I was issued a notice that I could be subject to fines of up to $25,000. What we found out is that it was a nurse who had different political views than I did. And I elected not to find out who the nurse is, because you actually have a right to do that, which you probably found out in Manitoba. And what I found out is that this nurse had gone to extraordinary lengths to find some records from the House of Commons. I don't think I ever told you this, where it said previous occupations, nurse, lawyer. And I was obviously still registered as a practicing, non-practicing lawyer. It doesn't matter. But she claimed that I held myself out to be a nurse, and this is the evidence. So it was a third person who would make representations on my behalf, because I always publicly say I'm a retired nurse. But that was the length that particular nurse went to try to get me fined and have a mark on my licensure forever that I had been reprimanded by the college. So, of course, it's probably not a good idea for the Nurses Association to mess with a nurse who's also a lawyer and exquisitely trained at that. And after some letters back and forth and some discussions, I was relieved of the situation, let's just say. So I can kind of relate. It sounds like you were stressed out to the max, probably said some things that, anybody else who's not a professional might say in those circumstances, but because you belong to a college, you're exposed to some consequences.
They were asking me things like where I work and why, and
Who was the nurse?
Yeah. And I was like, well, I work out of town. My daughter, at the time, my daughter was 22. Okay. And it took me, so she was already living on her own. Okay. It took me 2.5 hours to get to the city, and I was still working. And they didn't understand why I could only. I don't think they understood why I wasn't in the city, right? And I tried to explain to them that they wanted to know where I worked and all this other stuff, and I felt like I was more being cross-examined by them as opposed to.
So you've had your hearings. You owe $30,000, and if you can't pay it, it just stays on your record.
And I can't practice.
And you're not allowed to practice in any other jurisdictions, I suspect, without, did you have a pre-existing license to practice here?
No. So one of the
You don't have
things,
an ability to go get one.
yeah, I think it's much like the nurses' college where if you've got a
Staying on one jurisdiction, you can't get.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that's something you can help me with. I don't know if you can. But I'm hoping. So that's the matter with the college, and like this is my livelihood, right? And right
So
now,
what are you doing right now? So
I'm working for the Ontario government as a caseworker for the Ministry of Children, Community, and Social Services.
okay.
So
You've got a decent job.
I do have a decent job, but it too is under attack right now, and I'll get to that. And
Okay.
we're already leading into it, so that'll be the next thing I want to talk to you about. Okay, so no, we're going to backtrack for a moment. I want to talk about legal aid in Manitoba for a moment. Okay, so legal aid in Manitoba, when I was going through my family thing, I was on legal aid because I was stressed to the max. I did acknowledge that, and I went to the doctor and I said I need some time off work because, there are days when
Time off work in your Ontario job.
No, in my Manitoba.
In your Manitoba job.
I'm just giving you the back history so you understand where I'm at right now. Okay, so I was on legal aid in Manitoba. Legal aid in Manitoba has the responsibility of finding you a lawyer. It's not like Ontario where you find your own lawyer here. Okay, but they couldn't find me a lawyer, and my family trial date was coming up. Justice Peterson, I gave her the note.
Sorry, your family trial date.
Right.
Okay.
So Justice Peterson, I wrote to Chief Justice Jarrell, told him the situation. He referred it to Justice Peterson. Justice Peterson said that if I couldn't find a lawyer in time for the trial would proceed and I would be forced to self-represent, even though I was on legal aid. Okay, which violates my constitutional rights. I know that, right? Trial went ahead, and a bunch of things were ordered. I have the order here. You can take a look at it if you want. Since the trial, I have not been allowed to see my children. I have not been allowed to talk to my children. Okay? And not my older ones, but my younger ones. Okay?
How many kids do you have? 4. Do you live in Kuwait?
I do. And on top of that, I feel like I'm being financially exploited, and that leads us into the paid thing with work. But I wanted to give you the back history first, okay? Now, last month,
Sorry, did I door knock at your house one day and then you put out a thing on social media saying something right in the middle of the elections? Have I got the right person?
you do.
Okay. All right. I could remember.
You gotta understand that this has been going on for a while. I'm desperate for help.
No, I hear it. It was a desperately, speaking of desperate, it was a desperately cold day. I should have never been out. It had been 30 below zero.
And I do apologize for that. I will take down anything if it still exists.
I'm Susan. It's all way in the past, as the saying goes. Here to try to understand how we can help you. I was looking at you and saying, I remember this person.
Thank you. Okay, so
It's my responsibility to be better than that person that you were in that moment, right? So now we're trying to help you with some pretty complex stuff here.
you're not kidding with that. And I know I'm dropping kind of like a bombshell on you, and I do apologize for that, but this has been my life for the last few years.
Right.
Okay, so now maintenance enforcement contacted Fro.
Were you in the process of getting a divorce? Is that what was going on?
Yeah, well, not a divorce. I've been living common law, and I had children with the guy, and it's
4 children?
2 children with him, or 2 from another
Okay.
relationship. And my 2 youngest, like I said, I haven't been able to see, I haven't been able to speak to. I've got the email saying that he refuses to allow me to, he refuses to follow the judge's order to find somebody, because judge put in supervised visits, which is insane, but whatever. But he refused to, the judge said that he was responsible for for finding, or for approving the supervisor, but then he's saying, well, you're supposed to find the supervisor, I'm just supposed to approve, but he won't approve anybody that I find. So I haven't been able to see my children since 2002.
Oh my God, 24 years?
Or no,
22.
2022. So 4 years, yeah, almost 4 years. I haven't even been able to speak with them, like on the phone. And then, Fro contacted the payroll ministry, whatever, however you want to, you know how,
Yeah.
Sorry, I just need a moment.
It's okay. Gather yourself.
Okay. So, Fro contacted payroll, and they, in March, I only received 1 paycheck. The last paycheck in March, I didn't get it all. And from the ministry.
They guarantee your wages.
Yeah, they took over $1,000. They're saying that they submitted over 900 to.
Are we still talking about legal aid now?
No.
Okay.
No. Oh, but sorry, backtrack to legal aid for a second. Sorry, I know I'm jumping over.
Yeah, because I didn't finish that point. Yeah.
Okay, so legal aid in Manitoba will not represent me so long as I'm living in Ontario. Ontario legal aid will not represent me in Manitoba. So I'm at what do I do? Point. I can't afford a lawyer because Fro's taking every cent I have. I can't even
Sorry,
afford.
who's Fro?
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
I think it's trying to.
Yeah. So one of the things. Sorry, I know I'm jumping all over the place. One of the things in the order, the family order, was the judge inputted my income, even though I wasn't working at the time. They inputted it as me, my work.
Is it for contributions to the family, or is it to pay off the fine to the?
No, it's for the family.
Lord.
Yeah. So right now I've got over $18,000 in back pay from Fro, on top of the $540 some that they're taking off my check monthly. So I'm in March I was expected to live off of $1,400. I can't do that. Like, I've got bills that are like, I'm now receiving disconnection notices, and my bills have been paid up, and.
But Fro is not allowed to, I'm not a family lawyer, and there isn't much we can do to help you in the Manitoba jurisdiction on a couple of these counts, but as a guiding principle, your wage can be guaranteed so that it compromises your ability to have a basic standard of living.
But it has been. I'll show you. Okay, so hang on a second. Here we go. Okay, so if you take a look here, I apologize, I'm just sliding over. No, that's okay. Okay, if you look here, March 12th, I received $1,600. The 26th, I didn't receive a cent. Now this one, they deducted over $900 from my pay stub, and I have the pay stubs I can show you.
You get paid every 2 weeks?
Every 2 weeks. This one, I didn't know that this was going to be happening because they only started deducting in March. I had worked an insane amount of overtime, so I got more on that paycheck. And this one, again, they deducted $270 some. So they took over $1,300 from me in April, and like I can't afford that.
So how much do you have to pay per month for child support?
The order says $576, I think.
Every paycheck?
Every paycheck. I can double check that figure. Or not every paycheck, monthly. Sorry.
Susan, like this is we're in rare earth territory here. How is it that the woman in the family is paying child support? Is there something we don't understand about the dissolution of that common law relationship?
No, like
you haven't had contact with your kids in 4 years, but you have a shared, you have a right to see the children under supervision. Did something happen with one or more of those children that would put you in a situation where you would have to be under supervision to see the kids?
Okay, so I told you that the whole thing with my family breaking down and how it was taking a stress on me. Well, I did have a nervous breakdown in April 2022. Okay. Child CFS got involved. I didn't hurt the kids, but because I ended up in hospital, they came in and took the
Apprehended your children.
Okay. So that there's
okay. That's all I want to know about that. So $576 per month is what the deduction is.
Yeah.
So why is there more deducted? Does that add up? Are they trying to do something retroactive?
They're trying to do something retroactive. So this is what payroll gave me from Fro. And they won't give me any other information. Like I've been asking them about this for a month, and the only thing I can come up with is Fro is saying this is how to deduct it. That 50% of my pay can be deducted. I can't live off of 50% of my pay. Like you know what rent is right now, like in Ontario, near my Kenora, like you can't get like $1,400 is just might meet rent. It won't pay any of the bills up.
How much is Fro saying you owe it back pay?
Over $18,000.
But you weren't working at the time, so you couldn't pay it.
Right. And normally it's the amount that you pay in child support is based on what you earn, right? But I did submit my financials, and the judge threw out my financials essentially and said, this is what I'm inputting your income as, this is what you're paying.
So that was a manageable.
And that was an order for $576 a month.
Yeah, let me just double check the exact figure, but yes.
Because that document says may deduct up to, right?
Yeah.
But it's not actually 50% of your wages. In fact, it's about
$546.
$546. So it's not half your wages. It says they may take up to half your wages, but it will probably depend on how much that person's making. But you have an order from a judge that says you're $576. So
$546.
$546. So in fairness, that's not a lot of money. That's way less than 10% of your wage, right? Most.
And I can do $546, but I can't like they literally took over one of my paychecks in one shot.
I don't understand that. Like, have you gone to your employer?
I have.
And what do they say?
I am still trying to talk to them. They keep referring to this letter, and they refuse to answer my questions. In fact, today, the person that I've been talking to, CC'd his manager. So I'm wondering if I'm now going to be in trouble for asking these questions and being so forthright. Like, I need answers.
Okay. Just trying to, you got three things in here. We do have some folks coming in here, so I want to keep going.
Okay.
But the first two, I'm probably out because they're Manitoba jurisdiction, Susan. On the third one, what I'd like you to do is just let Linda know when you find out from your employer how much and why they're deducting more than what appears to be $546. Okay? But you have to prove that, right? Like, you have to go to your employer and say, it appears as though I have had more than the $546 deducted from my pay. Because I saw on that line there, it doesn't say they are going to take up the 50%. They don't actually have a legal right to take up 50%. What they have a right to do, in fact, it's an obligation, it's not a right, is to take $546 a month, because you can't use out of jurisdiction as a shield for your obligations in another province or territory in the country, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
And especially with the government, a private sector employer may say that's your business, you know, but usually people use a lawyer and register it. The next thing you know, even a private sector employer has to take out the amount. They're not allowed to take more. So you need to be able to go to your employer and say, look, it appears as though when was the order given effect?
October 25th, 2022.
Yeah. And they only started collecting it a couple months ago?
I've been essentially bouncing from one job to another.
So sorry, you're saying that it's and the court ordered that retroactive, so you actually owe all those $546 per month since that order in 2022. Oh, well, that's why they're taking it. So they're taking up to 50% of your pay until that historical $3.5 or $18,000 is caught up, plus actively paying your here and now $546.
But the thing is, I haven't been able to afford it.
Well, no, I get it, but they're saying under law that they can take 50% of your salary to work through that backlog, and then once you've worked through that backlog, whatever wage you're making will only be $546. That's manageable, but managing, I see what you're saying now.
Okay, so there is one more thing that I want to
Show more, Susan. No, I'm just kidding. No, you're in a pickle.
So back when I lived in Manitoba, how I ended up in Ontario was I owned a house in Manitoba. It was actually built to me by my mother, and in the will she said that I would have the first option to buy it from the estate, which I did, and now Manitoba law says that anything willed is not touchable by the courts, but they still incorporated my house into the proceedings, and they still and maintenance enforcement went after it. So how they got it from me was I had a mortgage with the bank, and maintenance enforcement literally froze my accounts for like, I think it was 3 to 4 months. So I didn't even have coffee money. I was living off my credit cards. And my mortgage went into default, and then they took my home. And that's how I ended up here. And if I moved from here, I'm moving out of country, just to let you know. Like, I need help.
Susan, look, you can't afford a lawyer.
No.
Some of these matters I can't represent you as the member of parliament, but I can tell you what you need to do. You need to coordinate a meeting with your employer and with the family court, the justice who issued the order in 2022. So think of this, Susan, as you going out with your credit card and being reckless and having a used car debt or a bunch of stuff and saying, okay, enough already. Like, I can't keep paying these people in all these different places. And so you go to the bank and you get a line of credit that's a more manageable one. You pay off those debts and you service one place, right? Hang on. I use that example because you're going to have to coordinate with your employer and with Fro and say, look, like, you may have the ability to legally enforce up to 50% of my salary, but I can't afford to live off of 50% of my salary, right? I think that would be a fairly easy thing to demonstrate. You would bring in your rent, copies of your heat, hydro, and electricity, and say, this is how much I pay just to live, right? Keep your grocery receipts and show fair and reasonable receipts for food and say, I don't make enough to pay up to 50%, because it says in that document that they may take up to 50%. When they say may, it means that they can, but they don't have to. What that means to a lawyer, and even a non-lawyer, is that you need to negotiate that, right? I don't know the details here, Susan, but it appears as though they're prepared to take up to 50% of your salary, and in order to make good on the payments since 2022, which you have, not made.
Well, I did make some when they took my house and froze all my bank accounts. And that was the first contact I'd had with maintenance enforcement. They didn't send me any letters. They didn't send me anything. They literally just, I knew that the maintenance enforcement was going to be getting involved. But no offense, but I know how long the government takes to get things done. So I was waiting for stuff in the mail. And that never came. And next thing I know, my bank account's getting frozen and my mortgage is going into default.
What are the other things here, Susan? You had a couple.
Okay, I think we pretty much touched on all of them throughout this conversation.
Now, I understand, Susan, that you didn't want to sign this document here, which is fine with me. It's not an exploitative document. It's meant to serve you if we require any additional information. So, for example, it's just a consent form that allows us, if we can and if we need to, make positive representations on your behalf. Every constituent signs one.
The different ministry departments won't speak to us about individual cases.
So in the event that you're able to prove, for example, that they're taking up to 50% and you can't afford that, and you say, look, I'd like my member of provincial parliament to make an inquiry, we can, because you haven't signed the document.
I'll sign it. You got to understand.
You understand that you're not signing this document under duress. This is a positive document.
I was signing under duress.
Potentially help you should we, for example, be able to say to your employer, who happens to be the Ontario government, We are concerned, once you demonstrate proof, that your commitment to the obligation for
So I did sign it,
furnished wage
but he didn't do anything to help
is
me.
beyond your means.
So what was the point of me signing it
Right.
besides him prying into my personal?
Because I suspect that the only time, and I don't know family law, but I suspect the only circumstances that they can't garnish your wages is if you go on Ontario Works. There's no sense in having Susan on Ontario Works. But it appears as though you probably also need to find out, if you're making a list of things that you
Seems
have
like
to
that's the
find
only
out,
safe option
just
for me.
exactly how much of this backlog since 2022 you owe and who's enforcing it.
Well, and
Do you have contact with your ex-common-law?
no, not really. Like everything is heated. Everything is
The relationship is in complete dissolution.
exactly.
I see. Okay. Well, listen, Susan. Here's the steps you need to take. Compile your monthly list of expenses. Okay? Request of your employer a meeting with that computer document they have saying, look, I understand. Don't be combative. Say, I'm here to negotiate a fair and reasonable way of making good on the on whatever it is that I'm owing and whatever my monthly balance is. You can say, I can afford the $546 per month that the court has ordered. What I can't afford is what appears to be a deduction beyond that from my wages to pay historical amounts. And then you can say, well, I understand that it is available to FRO to enforce an order by any employer to take up the 50%. I can't afford that. And I don't think that there's an organization, including FRO, in the land that would say, well, our job is to collect on that, and we are enforcing this up to 50%. I don't know the law in Manitoba, but I would think that would give you reasonable grounds to go before the justice who issued that order and say, whatever is happening on the historical amount or amounts that I owe, I can't afford to live.
But that now poses another issue. I would need a lawyer to.
No, you don't. No, you don't need a lawyer to make hardship arguments. It's easy. Okay, right?
For a lawyer.
You need to show what your monthly expenses are, that demonstrably you can pay $546, but whatever it is it's owed, and you need to find out, Susan, you're a professional. You can find out how much you owe. You can go to FRO and say, it appears as though you guys are enforcing a backlog of payments that I didn't make. I've surrendered assets in the past to deal with some of those debts, but holy crap, are you guys using my current employer to take 50%? I can't afford to live. Affordability is the biggest issue for everybody right now, including me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So here's a politician.
That's the kind of hardship, write that word down, that you're experiencing. And as such, while it may be available for FRO to enforce an employer to take up the 50%, you can't afford that. And so, Susan, even without a lawyer, it's available for you to go before the court and the magistrate or the judge who issued that order and say, I'm not here to dispute that I have a historical amount that I may owe. I'm not here to dispute that the 546 was a finding that you made to deduct off my salary. But FRO is saying to my current employer, it doesn't matter that it's the government of Ontario, but it may be helpful if the court refuses to hear it, and I would be shocked if they did, that I have the kind of hardship that makes it impossible for me to live. Right? You don't need a lawyer to do that. It might be helpful if you had one, but legal aid is not an option for you as long as you have residency here in Manitoba.
Ontario.
In Ontario.
Yeah.
And legal problems in Manitoba. So you go do that homework, Susan. Okay? I'll give you a month. In 3 or 4 weeks, you can come back in, and we will try to understand where you're at. Whether you've had that proceeding booked or possibly even had it, right?
Yeah.
You know who the judge is, you know the court that order was issued from, and you don't need a lawyer to navigate that system. And if you have any problems, then in a month when we meet again, we'll try to understand whether there's any correspondence that we can generate saying, look, right, this constituent of mine lives in Ontario, but should not be precluded from legal standing in Manitoba with an Ontario employer to find out a fair and reasonable amount that she can make through that. And I will do that for you if you do that homework for me.
I definitely will.
All right.
One more thing, is there anything you can do with helping me find a lawyer or legal aid or anything? I know you said legal aid's off the table, but is there anything you can do to help me legally in while I live in Ontario with seeing my kids?
So seeing your kids, and so again, I'm not giving you legal advice, but I think if you have any crack at getting a lawyer to help you in the face of not being able to afford one, would be to go to a family lawyer here in town and say, look, I don't have fees. I don't have the ability to pay fees. But I would, most lawyers will see you for an initial consultation and say, look, you need more help with managing your finances than the emotional toll not seeing your kids is, in my respectful view. And here's why. Because if a lawyer will take you on and you say, look, if you can help me with this fro thing, I can service a small amount per month on my legal fees.
It's true.
Right?
Yeah.
And it might take over time, and you don't mess with lawyer payments, right? You don't make your lawyer payments. They'll, you're in scorched earth territory. Nobody can help you. Then I can service a modest amount. But the first thing you have to be able to do is prove that Fro is enforcing up to 50% of your salary through the Government of Ontario. The Government of Ontario may not be doing anything wrong here.
Yeah.
They rarely do, if ever. I've never heard of it. But what they will do.
Were you given a caseworker at Fro when you're? I'm just asking. Was your judgment transferred when you moved to Ontario?
I haven't heard this document that Payroll sent me, and this was I really had to work to get this document. This was the only thing I've ever seen from Fro. I've never seen anything else from Fro.
Okay, so you either need to go to Fro or you need to go to your employer and say, who in Fro, Susan, who in Fro is enforcing this, and under what terms are they enforcing it, right? That's pretty logical. They'll say, well, I mean,
They should have given her a case.
they should have given you a caseworker. There's somebody over at Fro right now saying, we're getting your money to wherever your common law husband is. Because that money's not going to Fro, it's going to your common law partner.
Yeah.
And you don't have an ability to speak to your common law partner. And nor would I advise you to if I was giving you legal advice. I would simply work with Fro and say, this is not sustainable.
Make sure your address is current.
And be friendly with your employer, Susan.
I'm
Right.
trying.
Well, you got to try harder, because it sounds to me like you're taking on the world. You picked a fight with me a year ago. There's no need to do that. One of the nicest guys in town, so I hear.
I am sorry. I'm just.
No, I don't want you to apologize. We're here to help you, right? But there's a history here of you being at odds with just about every organization you come in contact with.
Because I can't get
The
help.
Government of Ontario is your friend right now. They're your employer.
If
And frankly, if you lose that job, you're in a real heap of trouble, right? So you just approach your government, your employer, under the friendliest of terms and say, look,
not only do I want and need my job, and it's an important part of my existence, but I'm in arrears, and somebody is enforcing a deduction off my salary that I simply can't afford. Just say it's that simple. So I need to know who you're talking to at Fro, or you need to contact Fro and say, I'm Susan so-and-so, number 467-950-E02, whatever, and say, I can't afford what you're taking from me. Because that may take up to 50%, is generally reserved for people who are making a crap load of money, and they do it because they can. It's a guy that resurfaces in PEI. Turns out he's making $200,000 or $300,000 a year, and they find him. And Manitoba says, we're coming for you, and by the way, you make a lot of money, we're going to take up to 50% until this 4-year, 5-year, 10-year amount is paid off. And then once that amount is paid off, and you deserve and need to know how much of that in arrears is actually already paid for. Because that will help you negotiate and say, okay, I still owe $7,000 in arrears. Lorna's doing a quick math. I owe $7,000 in arrears. I need that to be paid over the next 4 years, plus my 576. You need to identify as a professional capable of managing your own affairs, saying, here's what I can afford, up to $1,000 a month. Net income is what I can afford to give you.
But I can't.
All right?
I'm not even getting $1,000 a month.
We have to use the restroom. We've got some
So thank you for meeting with me. I really do appreciate it.
It's my job to help people when they're in the Kenora Rainy River boundaries. You do your homework, and we'll try to see how we can help.
Okay.
All right? We'll see you back here in this office
Okay,
in 4 weeks to see where you're at.
Thank you.
Okay, Susan? Thank you.
so he said 3 to 4 weeks. I will show you an email from his secretary/assistant that I am asking for an appointment.
Well, thank you to both of you as well.
One question I would have is if you have a file number from Fro,
If she wants our help.
yeah,
It might be on this document. You know, if I could see
yeah.
it.
Because then once,
If she's gonna do it on her own. I would prefer not.
I mean, we can't do the negotiating, no, but we could try and get her.
I know exactly what her statement of affairs is.
Exactly, we could find that out for her, and if there is somebody at Fro that she could talk to.
Yes, yeah, for sure. Okay, so case number, here it is.
Yeah.
Case number 113. 1300.
Okay, so would you like us to make an inquiry with Fro to see what the outstanding balance is of the arrears?
And no, it says here.
So that's still in arrears right now, it's 1890, almost 19.
Yeah, that was from the beginning of March. So maybe
$1,200 right now. Check it out. Okay, I found this on the web for now. Check it out.
sorry.
That's okay. Okay. We can make that inquiry, and we can also see if we could get you a caseworker at Fro.
So yeah, for Ontario or for Manitoba?
Ontario. That's what she got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to say,
Yeah.
responsibility on Manitoba.
Right, yeah, but that document that she's got there came from Ontario. Okay. Yeah. So, make an inquiry because that came from Ontario. If it had come from Manitoba, no.
I couldn't see the screen, so
Yeah.
I didn't make sure.
It's
Very complex.
she can email that to
Oh, the coffee? Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Can I do it tonight though?
Oh, yeah, no worries. Yeah, we've got meetings all day today, so we're gonna be all meetinged out by the end, and then I can, I could share, well, I've got the file number, but I can put that in your file and we'll just see if we can get you in touch with somebody at Fro Ontario that could be a caseworker for you and speak on your behalf.
That'd be great.
Now, because you've signed that document, Susan, there is a chance that we can share our information or concern about your situation. That's why you signed that document.
Thank you so much. And I'm sorry if I was hesitant. I'm just, after everything I've been through, I'm very skeptical, I'm saying that probably, skeptical about everything. I do apologize.
No, we will see what we can do to help out. Yeah, you bet.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you again.
I know. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what Greg's schedule is like.
Okay, so we'll be in touch.
Yeah, we'll be in touch.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. Yes, I do.
Within a month, if you don't feel free to check.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for your patience in hearing me out.
So I don't know if you heard that last part, but I tried to make an appointment with Greg Rickford for the 3 to 4 weeks, and his assistant slash secretary Linda said that she'd have to see what his schedule looks like. Now, I emailed after reaching out and doing the homework like Greg Rickford asked me to do. I reached back out to her, and she wanted to put me at the bottom of a waiting list. Greg Rickford, before he said I tried to pick a fight with him, that's not accurate. In fact, he came to my house campaigning, and that was the one and only time prior to this that I had ever seen him. And I had emailed him numerous times, and his secretary slash assistant Linda responded and basically told me that he was too busy to bother with me. And so I went public with this, and that is, I guess, his classification of a picking a fight. Somebody verbally vocalizing their concerns when their MPP is ignoring them and refusing to set meetings with real concerns in regards to their livelihood. A couple of the things that came out of that meeting was that they said that they would help me get a caseworker with Fro. To date, I still don't have a caseworker with Fro. I was in contact with somebody who indicated that no caseworker would be assigned and they don't communicate through email. The only way that they communicate is through the phone, in which case I have to call in each and every time and get a different person, which is very not user friendly in regards to the Ontario government, especially when it comes to somebody's finances and their livelihood. Now, keep in mind, right now, I am living off of about $200 per week because Fro has decided to take more than the 50% that Greg Rickford indicated that they possibly could take. So as of right now, I'm not able to live. I don't know what is going to happen in the next few weeks. I did make a statement that I am not going to slowly be killed by the government, slowly starve to death or become unhoused or stuff like that. I am done with that. I won't do that. If the government chooses to kill me, then it's going to happen. And I mean, realistically, financial exploitation is abuse. It can lead to it can lead to a breakdown, and it can lead to other things like somebody becoming unhoused or starving to death or not being able to get their medication. Like right now, um, I am on medication. Um, my doctor put me on something to help me with my weight and cholesterol, and right now I'm not able to afford it because Fro has decided to take everything and leave me with not even enough to live off of. Never mind the extras like medication. Um, anyway, so that's basically where things are at right now. Um, as I mentioned, Fro has not assigned a caseworker. I did contact the employer, like Greg Rickford asked, and asked for a collaborative meeting with the employer and with um, Fro, which is a division of my previous employer, and they denied me a meeting. Now, I am going to be going to the union about this and voicing a complaint with the union. Um, and I have already started that procedure, but Greg Rickford is our MPP. He is the one who is supposed to be in charge of the provincial side of things in the Rainy River District. So the fact that I'm going to him for help and he's deciding to sit on his thumbs and do absolutely nothing is really concerning. Um, like this is this has been ongoing, and you noticed in the meeting he said that I'm not eligible for legal aid. That is a huge acknowledgement because what it means is anybody who went through legal things in any other province and decided to move to Ontario for work or to live or be with family, whatever, they're not entitled to the same Canadian or legal protection that is um, mandated by our Canadian rights, our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. They're not they're not eligible for the same Canadian rights. So they're not eligible for legal aid if they fall below a certain um, income threshold. They're not eligible for legal protection in Ontario. That is what he acknowledged here. Like so for myself, I moved to Ontario for a couple different reasons. I didn't feel safe in Manitoba, and I got offered a job in Ontario. So it was a good job. So I left Manitoba. I would have left Manitoba regardless. I wasn't sure what province I would end up in, but the offer came from Ontario, so that is where I went. Um, now obviously the job has ended now, but um, I moved to Ontario thinking, okay, well, I've got a good job. I'll hopefully be able to afford a lawyer down the road. Um, but that didn't happen, and it didn't happen because I wasn't able to afford a lawyer, and um, because it seems like I'm constantly going through these legal battles, and it's just constantly draining. Now, um, now I'm below a certain threshold. I am actually below the poverty level right now, the poverty threshold. And as per Greg Rickford, I'm not eligible for legal aid or the Northwest Legal Clinic's help. Why? Because these legal matters originated in Manitoba. So, as a Canadian citizen, I'm being discriminated against for legal help simply because I'm from a different province. And that to me is really heartbreaking because it is it means that I'm constantly being financially exploited. It means that I'm not being able to see my kids, and it means that I'm not being able to get the legal help that I need. The government needs to step up and resolve these cracks in the system, because uh, if I end up with a nervous breakdown and end up taking my life or something else, then they are the ones that are responsible for this, because these things should not have happened. And I mean, please keep in mind, I'm not at the point where I'm gonna take my life, but I'll be perfectly honest. If I end up losing my housing, I've lost my kids. I lost my home in the city. Maintenance enforcement ensured that I lost it. Um, I've lost my career because I've I chose between my Canadian rights and my career, and according to the Manitoba College of Social Workers, I can't have both. I can't be a Canadian citizen who utilizes her Canadian rights and work as a social worker. And I'm sorry, but I'm not giving up my Canadian rights. So um, I'm not, I'm no longer a registered social worker. Now they can't take the knowledge away from me. As Greg Rickford said, I am an educated individual. I am a professional. However, professional or not, it doesn't do me a hell of a lot of good if I can't get employment in my field, right? So as it is right now, I'm on EI, and I'll probably be going on Ontario Works or ODSP. And I mean, if the government doesn't step up and start helping, it probably will be ODSP, because I will end up with a nervous breakdown. I will do something that ensures that I end up in hospital. I will be assessed. I will end up um, getting that piece of paper saying that I can't work, and I will end up on ODSP. And then the ex won't get a damn cent from me. Or, well, if he does, it probably won't be more than $60 a month, because that's pretty much all I'll get, right? Like, you don't get it, you don't get rich on ODSP or Ontario Works. Both of them are below the poverty level, right? So if he does get anything at all, it will be very, very minimal. Probably not even enough to fill his a tank of gas. So, it's not helping anybody by the government deciding not to help me. Um, but that is the reality of this situation right now. Anyways, in the next video, I will be showing the email from Linda wanting to put me at the bottom of a wait list for the next meeting that Greg Rickford said he wanted it within 3 to 4 weeks. I will also be showing the emails um, from payroll from the Ontario government, where I requested a meeting with payroll and um, who was dealing with my pay, right? So I requested a meeting with payroll, and I requested a meeting with Fro, and both of them, um, well, I requested a collaborative meeting, so with both of them, and I was told that would not be possible. So after this meeting with Greg Rickford, where he told me to request this, I'm now being told by the government that that is not possible. Anyways, that's it for this video. I am sorry it was so long, and I'm gonna say I won't say good night, because the next one's coming very shortly.